Okay, so a very good evening to all of you. I am very thankful to Mr. Narayan Rao and Mr. Chandrasekhar who have invited me to address or to talk to all of you, to interact with all of you on this topic of Agile HR, adapting to change and uncertainty. So, in the next 90 minutes, we would be, learning from each other because you all are from the HR fraternity, just like me, and even I'm here to learn a lot. So I have made this session as interactive as possible. So it's not just one-way communication, it's going to be two-way. Maybe you will be speaking more than me by the end of the session. So I would like to start by asking a simple question that we all read the newspaper. And in the past 48 hours, there has been a very important news, from on behalf of Elon Musk, Neuralink. Anyone has paid attention to that news because it's directly or indirectly related to our topic today. So anyone wants to contribute what the news about Neuralink has been? Otherwise, of course, Chandrasekhar sir, can I start presenting my slide?
Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, so I'll just try because I think,
There is an upward arrow at the bottom of
yeah,
the
yeah.
screen.
Is it visible?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. Because it
So you
says,
need to select the entire screen. Yeah, now it is visible.
now it is visible, right?
Yes.
So, gentlemen and ladies, I mean, I do not know how many females are there. I could only see a lot of males. But yes, as I said, the topic for today is related to the news we read some time back, day before this news came up, and it's about Neuralink. The question arises that what is Neuralink? What is this telepathy, which is right there in front of you? You might have read it in shorts also, if you have that on your mobile, that it is a kind of technology which has been developed by the company owned by Elon Musk called Neuralink. And this technology, he has named it as telepathy. Now, through telepathy, what they are doing is that they are putting a chip through the robots in the brain of the humans so that the humans can communicate through their thoughts, through the brain, right? And this is an example of human AI communication, which has happened in collaboration, which has improved drastically and which is expected to improve the efficiency drastically. And here with efficiency, we link agility, the agile aspect of HR that we are going to talk about very soon. But the question arises that if this kind of a technology is being embedded into the human brain, prima facie, the utility is for people with disabilities, because those who are suffering from paralysis, those who cannot move their limbs, they would initially be benefited by this technology of telepathy through Neuralink. But when I researched it further, I understood that it had many other benefits as well. For example, this technology will be used for data streamlining. Now, what is data streamlining? It is, analyzing the data for any kind of duplication which might be there, which wastes our time. So, with the help of data streamlining, we would become more agile. Similarly, another important, facet of this particular product which has been developed is to improve the human capability. So we are always working on capability building, competency enhancement, so that the learning is improved and the remembering, the memory is more. We are able to remember things for a longer period of time. So if we look at it in a nutshell, technology along with the human interface is what the present is now. I mean, which is happening in the present as well. If you remember, we have seen many movies like PK or Avatar, in which we talked about, or the directors or the script writers, they showcased a concept of mind reading or telepathy. And I used to, when I watch these movies, I used to think, oh, this is a thing of the future. This is science fiction. This is not reality. But the reality has become the present now, with Neuralink being one of the examples. There are so many other examples and so many other movies. If you remember that particular, scene from PK, where which I've showcased on this slide, this old gentleman, he comes to PK and he says, "Give me 500 rupees. I need to get my wife admitted in the hospital." And he says, "Okay, take these 500 rupees and take 100 more as tip." After this old man leaves, this Anushka, the actress, she tells PK, "Oh, you are a fool. Naturally, he was, hoodwinking you. He just wanted money from you. We couldn't make out. There is no hospital nearby." So he said, "Yes, I know it because I could read the old person's mind. His whole life he has, saved money to take his wife to a 5-star, and there, without his expectation, she ordered an additional ice cream, and he fell short of 500 rupees. So he came running asking for help, and I could read the mind and I wanted to help him. So empathically he gave 500 plus 100 more, stating in a way that on my planet we can read the mind." And we saw similar concepts in Avatar also. Now the question arises that if this is the kind of technology which we used to see in movies and it is there in present, what is its implication for HR, for people like you and me? So anyone wants to answer that? This is the first example and my first question. I will have to stop sharing to see if anyone has put up their hands to answer that.
Certainly,
Because I
ma'am.
believe,
Human and machine interface. So that's the future reality, and how we need to adapt, and we need to learn, and we need to take it in our daily routine lives, so that adapting to those culture. So that was the learning, and we need to be prepared for that.
absolutely, Chandrasekhar sir. So with that, we move forward and we go on to look at some statistics. And these statistics I'm going to share with you once again. There was this survey which was done by an organization called HIO. Just a second, I'll share it with you first. Oh, it's not visible in the windows. I will first maximize it. And then here it is. Okay, now it would be visible to you in a few seconds, I'm sure. So now that the slide is back in front of you, can you see the statistics that I have shared over here? Anyone can
Is
just
that
respond.
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay,
can.
fine. So what it says is Deloitte has done this research, and they said that first we look at the right-hand side statistics. 77% of the people believe that emails are no longer a viable tool for effective communication and collaboration. So, I was very surprised when I read this statistics because we are still using email for official formal communication, and majority of the people believe that it is no longer viable. And if you look at the other side of the statistics, it says that only 14% of companies believe that the internal processes for collaboration and decision making are working well. So if very few processes are on the right track, then we need to do much more. So one of the things which I could understand from this statistics is that emails and intranets are becoming outdated very fast. And in their place, what is coming up is more intuitive and mobile friendly communication solutions. So when we talk about intuition, what comes to your mind? We say intuition, we may call it sixth sense, we may relate it to our subconscious, unconscious powers of the human mind. So now we are talking about something that we used to consider abstract earlier. And that is becoming a reality, and no longer something into the future, but very much in the present also. So statistics, research is proving this as well. So with this, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that as HR people, we are dealing with generational workforce. And when we deal with multiple generations, for example, on my next slide, you would be able to witness the multiple generations that we all are dealing with in our respective organizations. I am from Generation X. Some of you may be from, the baby boomers, even senior to me. My immediate juniors were the millennials or the Generation Y. Then the youngsters in the organizations who are working with us are from Generation Z. And if we look further into the future, the type of workforce that we would be taking care of it is Generation Alpha and Generation Beta as well in times to come. The question arises that if we are to deal with this multi-generational workforce, how ready are we? How agile are we? How speedily we can adapt to the changes, which will help us, function better as HR people, as HR leaders. So just one or two examples over here that I would like to take. One about talent acquisition and one about talent retention. When we talk about staffing or talent acquisition, then we are wanting to have certain processes into place in our respective organizations, which would attract the best of people in the industry or the best of people with high level of competencies. So if we are to attract such type of people, definitely we will need to change very rapidly and have an organizational culture that people would want to work within. So they would be retained also. Attrition would not be a problem if we have these type of processes, agile processes into place. Now, any problems that you have faced dealing with multiple generations? Anyone wants to share? So again, it's a question where I would want your inputs so that we do peer learning as well. So anyone wants to answer that? Or if you want me to repeat the question.
Yeah, many times when we speak about the basically this baby boomers, okay, Gen X and Gen Y and Gen Z millennials. So we need to add one more category here. Okay, basically veterans.
Okay. Yes.
It is my perception. I always tell people, anybody
Right.
reach beyond 40, they become veterans, right?
Yeah.
And many things have been taken care for Gen X, Gen Y, including the millennials, but nothing is spoken even in HR, even in the technological upgradation for the veterans. Okay, there
True.
is a chance of now to consider them veterans, maybe less work and more pay, or maybe availability of them is less, and see that they are available for the basically to support the younger team.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
so the veterans is one more category that we need to think about and make arrangements for, so that we are able to get benefit from their experience as well. So very well spoken, Mr. Narayanan. Okay, so let's proceed further, and we go further to the various parts in which I have divided this session. To begin with, first we would be dealing with the introduction. Second aspect is the basic elements of Agile HR that need to be in place. And thirdly, some of the steps that can be taken for practical application of this Agile HR that we are talking about. So, working with the introduction, first of all, let's talk about what is the meaning of agile. Of course, all of us know that agile means a person or an individual or an animal who can move very quickly, who's very flexible. It is very easy for them to maneuver. So the speed is high. When somebody is considered to be agile, we say that their speed is very high, and therefore, again, some more statistics I would like to share over here. 90% of executives consider being more agile as either important or very important. So people across the world have agreed to it that being agile is a very important aspect for any organization, for any individual also, for every team also. But the other statistics here states that only 10% of senior executives, they see their current organization as highly agile, which means that out of all the organizations, the people who participated in this research, only 10% believed that they were highly agile. Now, fast and agile will always beat the slow and steady. So in the past, we used to say slow and steady wins the race. But now the new quotation is that fast and agile will always beat the slow and steady. Now, if we keep this new dictum in mind, we would always remember the importance of agility. One more topic, one more concept which is closely related to agile, especially post-pandemic, is being talked about. It is resilience. So now what is resilience? Many people would say resilience means bouncing back, which is right. Resilience means adapting to change. That's also fine. But I found a very modern definition of resilience, that is three words: advancing despite adversity. Now, advancing, every word has a meaning. Every word is very weighty over here. When we talk about the first word, that resilience means advancing despite adversity, advancing towards the goals, towards the vision of the organization, keeping in line with the mission of the organization. So when we keep on moving ahead without being cowed down by the challenges, no matter what the circumstances, that is the first aspect of resilience. Second is despite. Despite means that no matter what happens, we need to be proactive. We cannot wait for problems. We cannot wait for challenges to be over and then say, okay, now I'm ready, I will move forward. No, we have to keep going. And the third aspect of resilience is adversity. We know life is not a bed of roses. There are bound to be ups and downs. Just as an individual life, even in the organizational life cycle, we have the ups and downs. Now, especially when we have the downs, that is where we need to keep up our energy, and we need to keep our heads on our shoulders and keep marching ahead. So when we talk about, advancing despite adversity, it is like, life being like ECG. When you go to the hospital and you see any of your relatives or friends over there, we see that there's a monitor attached which goes up and down, up and down, up and down. And we are happy. We look at that monitor and we say, oh, wow, the person is alive. God forbid, if it is a flat line, if there is no up and down, it means the person is no more. The person has left us. And therefore, adversity has a connotation that, okay, as long as there are challenges, life goes on. And therefore, another conclusion that we can derive from this is, when we are expected to be agile as individuals, as an organization, as the HR department, it is expected that we embrace all the challenges and we still keep moving ahead. So I believe I've spent quite some time, discussing agility. Now, when we talk about agile HR, there are some other aspects that have been added to that. For example, as an HR, the approach which prioritizes speed of reverting back, of responding, that is what agile HR is related to. This concept of agile was introduced first of all in the year 2000 by the software development industry, and the software developers, they used this concept of agile, and then later on this agile concept was adapted by many organizations and HR as well. Now, when we talk about agile change or agile transformation, Transformation being a bigger word, a more heavy word, it has a lot of things involved. So number one, we talk about renewing ourselves. Number two, adapting to the circumstances, to the external environment, especially changing very fast, very quickly, and that's why speed is important. And then succeeding in a very turbulent environment, because when we talk about risk and uncertainty, we can never be sure about the degree of turbulence or the degree of change that is going to be there in times to come. So this is what Agile HR means, that as people from HR, how fast we are able to respond to the changes which are happening all around us. Now, some of the key imperatives are there, which we need to keep in mind. For example, the first important thing is that whenever we are talking about agility and speed, for what? It is for delivering results. We have to give results. We know, again, another statistics I would like to share over here is only 17% of the people are able to plan and execute equally. But majority of the people, they are very good at planning, but execution is a big question mark. So delivering is a very important aspect of Agile HR. Another important key imperative is collaboration. So Agile HR does not work in isolation. It always collaborates with different departments, different type of skills which people may have in their own department. So collaboration is a must. The dictum is the more the merrier, in the sense that we use another line in English where we say that too many cooks spoil the broth. But for Agile HR, it does not hold true. And therefore, I said the more the merrier. Then we need to reflect on what everyone has collaborated and come up with. And finally, before implementing, can we improve it a little bit more? And even after implementation, how we keep on improving whatever we have implemented. So this was a little bit of theory, but now going to a practical example, I want to take you through to this concept called the burning platform. I would want to understand if someone else wants to talk about this burning platform, if anyone knows about it. So, okay. I would take it further from here itself. Now, what has happened is, why are we talking about this transformation, Agile HR, this change that is needed in the present, which is needed in the future also? The concept of burning platform is very closely related to it. The year was 1988. And in that year, off the coast of Scotland, there was an oil rig where there was a big explosion one night, and in the North Sea. And there were about 166 crew members who lost their lives in that explosion. And there were two other rescuers also who went there to help them. They also died. Although 63 people survived, there was one particular supervisor, Andy Mochan. And, when he was in the hospital and people asked him that, how did you live through? How did you make it? So he said that when I got up in night, there were flames all around me. The platform was, burning. And there were only two choices in front of me. The first choice was I jump from the platform into the sea, but even in the sea, the oil had surfaced and it was burning. So the chances of survival were very bleak. But then he said the other option that I had in front of me was to get fried, to be on the platform, not to take the plunge, and definitely die remaining in amidst those flames. So he said, I chose possible death over certain death. Now, this is the burning platform concept, which tells us that we sometimes face situations as organizations, as individuals, where there is a very high level of urgency, where there is a necessity to resolve a problem. And that is the time when we need to decide whether we should jump or we get fried. Right. So this concept of burning platform first came up in Daryl Connor's Managing the Speed of Change. And in this book, I read about it and I was very impressed. And I thought that, there are some other aspects of it that we must understand. So one thing I'm sure must be clear, that burning platform is a metaphor. It is a concept which reminds us of the urgency to change before we are faced with inevitable death professionally, right? So let us go further, and I will show you the grid which helps us to understand further the implications of this. Yeah. So if you look at this grid, it says that this concept of burning platform, where we talk about change and agility, has two different aspects. One, the current problems and the current opportunities, and the anticipated problems and the anticipated opportunities. Now, if we look at the current problem, currently, if the platform is burning, currently, if we are facing a particular problem, we may not have too much of time to do much about it. So we can only do firefighting. And when we do firefighting, which a lot of us do, we all do, in fact, I would say, when we are faced with some certain emergency situation, we are able to take care of it, but it may not be the best solution that we come up with when we are doing firefighting. So हिंदी में कहते हैं कि जब सर पे पड़ जाए, when it is on your head, when a problem falls on your head, then you have to just deal with it. You can't plan how to deal with it in a very good manner. On the other hand, when we are looking at anticipated problems, then the platform is in the danger of burning in times to come. So we still have the time to build new platforms for the future. So what does it mean? Anybody? Can you relate it to HR, the anticipated problems, or what is the message here? How we can relate this concept of burning platform with our own functional area, with our own departments?
Can anyone? So if you people are not encouraging by asking the questions right or wrong, though the faculty may not be able to get the connectivity and what you call enthusiasm. Right or wrong, we should have. HR people always should have two platforms. One is solve the problem or get solved the problem. Okay? Solve the problem or get solved the problem. If it is possible from you, get it solved. You know that there is a boss, there is an organization. We should know that how to get it solved by others. Others means either by the experts or by the organization.
True.
There we need to bifurcate whether issues are like a burning platform, whether that burning platform is having any alternatives. I think Madam is telling whether to create one more platform or is there any other ready-made available platform. We need to assess it. Okay. I think I want to give them the little practical example, ma'am.
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
For one thing, we should remember all HR people, nothing is readily available for HR fraternity because we are all handling human beings. Human beings are our basic major platform. So we may not be able to have a fixed, constant, regular platform what we assess. Okay. So it is only to interpret and anticipate and answer as a HR person. This is what I would like to interact. Yes, Chandrasekhar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Ma'am, one of the great example is the great attrition the industry has suffered in 2021. There, the problem was the current burning situation because the industry was experiencing 28 to 40% of attrition, and also in the IT field, all the many professionals are having 4 to 5 offers in their hands.
Right.
So anticipating those things, the organizations have developing at the junior level management so that they have been planning for the more number of the campus recruitment drive so that they have the workforce flexible and they can anticipate the future things and plan accordingly to counter the same.
True. Very good example. In fact, Narayan sir has given a very practical, this thing. Path. He has given a very practical example supported by Chandrasekhar sir, who has talked about the IT industry and the attrition example. So I believe that we have understood the concept. In fact, one more example which I had planned to take up here, which all of you might already be aware of, is the Nokia case. Nokia was one of the market leaders initially in the mobile industry. But then, as you can see on the slide, if it is again visible, that their chief executive, Stephen Elop, he gave a speech where he said that we don't know how we got so far behind the world and how everyone else has shot ahead. And when they actually analyzed, the burning platform was, his famous words were, the last bullet point on this slide: Nokia, our platform is burning. So he was saying that they are already on a burning platform because everyone has gone ahead, but they had realized it too late for many different reasons. The attitude inside Nokia, the lack of accountability, leadership was not able to align the directly to the company with in the disruptive times. They had a series of misses. They had missed the Android bus. They were not able to deliver innovation fast. They were not collaborating internally, and therefore this was a big case study which showed that if we do not change timely, if we are not fast enough, if we are not efficient enough to embrace change, then we are not agile enough to survive. And therefore, with this, I want to show you a video. And the questions which I have put forth, I will share with you beforehand so that when you're watching the video, you will be able to answer these questions. Question number one: what is the message from this video? Secondly, is there a correlation of this video and what we see in this video with the burning platform and change? Thirdly, what change is anticipated in your organization or in your HR department, if you wish to say that? So let me share the video with you, and I will just start it and then share it with you. I hope you have noted down the question so that after watching the video, you can answer it. So I just started it. I will share it in a moment with you.
Please unmute yourself, ma'am.
So I hope you all were able to watch that video, and I'm sure something must have come to your mind when you watched that video. So my question again to you is what I had put in front of you before going on to show you that video. Just a second. Yeah. It's not coming in the video. So the first question is that what is the message from this video?
It's a change management, ma'am.
Yeah,
We should
change
accept the
management.
change.
We need to accept the change. And the second question,
Yeah.
is there a relation between this video and the burning platform?
Certainly, the process the eagle will undergo when he is having a long wings. So he will go through and pluck it off his the wings, the entire change management, and the change for the survival and to live longer. So that was the main learning over there.
Absolutely. So if
Our
we want to
replacement of the
survive in the long run, yeah, we need to, definitely undergo that change, although it may be painful. And we may, in the beginning say, oh, there is too much to be done. Oh, there are so many processes and systems to be changed. So why should we do that? And the third question, anyone else would want to answer what changes anticipated in your organization or in your organization's HR department, the anticipation of a change, as we say, the knock of change, if you can hear it.
Just for cut a joke. So change, we don't want bosses.
Mm-hmm.
No, normally I am just telling you what
Yeah.
HR people expect, because
Yeah.
see, if boss is there, we don't want boss.
Okay. Right. Mhm.
Okay. So we want total empowerment, total delegation. Okay.
Right.
And but when it comes to the accountability and responsibility, we ask others to do it. It is a quite natural as a human being. Okay. Because neither we are into production, neither we are into volumes. Okay.
Right.
Neither we are into values. We are into only human beings.
Mhm.
Okay. So yes, change is anticipated to survive in the burning platform.
Absolutely. So as Narayan sir pointed out that, ownership, accountability and responsibility, the OR concept is very, very important. And therefore, let's move further and understand that in the agile framework, the feedback plays a very important role. Of course, there were times, and even to quite a great extent now also, we do seek feedback from the consultants who are outside the organization. But the change which is now happening is that from the traditional consultant-led model of feedback, we are now moving inward, and we are wanting a more agile feedback, because we know the pluses with the consultant-led feedback will always be there because they are the experts and we outsource it to them. But at the same time, there is a long gap between the survey which they conduct and the interviews which they have and the results which they give to us. Whereas if we talk about an agile feedback, then it is internally owned by our own teams, and therefore from HR we keep on conducting a lot of surveys nowadays, right from employee satisfaction surveys to the others, employee engagement surveys, etc., to know that how our customers are feeling. And the customers for HR naturally are the employees majorly. So we get this real-time data from them, and this helps us take decisions to make further empowered leaders. Now, moving further from change, I would talk about the process of agile in brief at this point. It is divided off into three parts. Number one, the starting point. The starting point, as you can see in this diagram, has been depicted as the business being agile, but HR has not yet accepted agility. So what happens is that the top management or the board of directors or the CEO, the CFO, the CHRO, all of them, they say, yes, our business needs to be agile. So we need to, put the agile principles into place. But since HR is not yet convinced, or HR has not taken the steps to become more agile, they miss out on the benefits, and they are not even able to support the other departments in becoming more agile. Now, the second step in the process of agile is agile for HR. Now, what agile for HR means is that HR needs to become agile, and it starts adopting the systems and the processes which make it more agile. For example, I just talked about getting quick feedback. And what happens if you get a quick feedback? Are we taking action on that? Which I'm sure you are. And if you are taking action, are we making it a part of our SOP for times to come? So that is where Agile for HR is into place. There are many frameworks for Agile HR like Scrum. We will be discussing that a little bit in detail later in today's session. So if we start using Scrum, that is one of the indications that, okay, we are making HR more agile. Right. Then any value addition which HR does to the overall business, that also shows that, okay, Agile for HR has been accepted. The third and the last stage here is where HR for Agile comes into practice, which means that HR becomes agile and it is supporting the entire organization to adapt to agile principles, and therefore it supports all the agile teams in the organizations by coming up with reward programs or the PMS, redesigning the job roles. So all these are the agile ways of working, and it helps leaders understand the new roles in the agile organization. So it does the hand holding and coaching of the heads of departments and the other leaders so that they are well prepared to adopt agile as well. So these are the three steps which I hope that you have understood: the starting of agile, agile for HR, and HR for agile. So I hope these three differences are clear to you. Now, is this agile for HR or HR for agile? What you can see on the slide just now. Anyone would want to answer that? Since I've just differentiated between agile for HR and HR for agile, this diagram of HR agility, what does it depict? First one or the second one? So, I'm taking a feedback from you to be sure that you have understood the concept well. Okay, so since nobody is answering, let me tell you, this is HR for Agile, which means that HR has implemented and fine-tuned all these processes, all these L&D, performance management, recruitment, HRMS, all these processes have been fine-tuned so that it may support the agile teams in the organization. So this is an indication for HR for Agile. Now, finally, in the introduction, the last part that we are going to cover are the 4 important tenets of Agile. These 4 tenets or these 4 principles of any organization or any HR department which wants to become agile are: number 1, the responsiveness. So responsiveness, as I've already discussed with you, is about the speed with which we revert, the speed with which we adapt to the changes. So this is responsiveness. A small example of responsiveness from a day-to-day life would be that, when we had events earlier, when we used to attend weddings in our family, then the photographer who used to come there, he used to give us the photographs maybe a week later or 15 days later. And because the time span or the time lag was so long, we used to lose interest, and very few of us used to look at those photographs because the photographer had taken a long time. But now, with the event management team well in place, they are so agile that if yesterday the event has happened, thanks to the technology that they adopt, today itself means the next day itself, they can deliver all the videos and all the photographs to us. Now, this is the level of responsiveness that we are expecting even in our organization. So that, especially when the feedback processes are in-house, this is quite possible. The second important tenet of agility is experimentation. This is very, very important. As Mr. Narayana was just saying that, everything is not in place for the HR people. We have to build our systems, right? So here it is not necessary that we look at the antiquated best practices of the industry. Yeah, they are a good reference point. But what is important in experimentation to become more agile is that we are ever improving the better practices. So instead of best practices, now we are talking about how to make our practices continuously better and better. And therefore, the concept of Kaizen also comes in here, where we talk about continuous improvement, so that every small process, whether in HR or in the other departments, we are improving them on a continuous basis through experimentation. Here, I would also like to draw your attention towards the various C's of creativity in the organizations. We all know that, in organizations, we work with the critical mind also for taking decisions, and we use the creative mind also for coming up with out-of-box solutions. So when we put the creativity of people into practice, then the organization is much more productive. So if you would recall, there is this 4 C's model of creativity, and mini C, little c, the professional C, and the big C. But I'm only trying to talk to you in terms of agile HR, where we focus on the little c, or the everyday creativity, which we need to showcase in our small tasks that we perform, so that we are not looking at some big C or some major transformation which people like Einstein or Elon Musk have been doing, or even in the form of cultural transformation, because it's once in a while and it takes a very, very long time to happen. So when we talk about experimentation, we are talking about everyday creativity in the form of the little c. Then we move on to the third tenet of agility, that is validated learning. Now, validated learning here means that we must embrace science and technology, and therefore I'm sure that the HRIS that you are using, or the enterprise resource management or others that you're using, is already integrating technology with your workspace. Here there is another concept, that is MVP, minimum viable product. Now, what is this concept in Agile HR? It says that do the minimum to satisfy the requirements at the moment to meet a specific outcome, and then once you have done the minimum which is required, you improve upon it in times to come, bit by bit. So what happens is that if somebody is requiring, suppose you come across an employee who has a grievance, so you follow the grievance redressal mechanism. You sort out the grievance of that employee, because that is the job of HR. And then you see that such type of grievances should be reduced in future. So what to do about it? So you make incremental changes in times to come. And you have your learning that, okay, if this is a situation, then this is the kind of grievance that we have. And this is what we can do to take care that it does not happen again in future, or the probability is less in future. I'll give you a live example. When I was heading HR with a 5-star chain of hotels, we used to have grievances like, people used to steal, but they used to steal small things from the kitchen, like even a Tetra pack of milk they used to steal. And as per our SOP, if there is any case of theft, then the only way out was that we had to fire that employee. Now, of course, we used to do that even if a piece of jewelry was stolen by an employee, which was very rare, of course, because they were trained well and the level of loyalty and every other procedure was in place. But still, it could not be ruled out. And at the same time, so even a person who was stealing a piece of jewelry would be fired, and a person who would be stealing a small 100 grams of butter would also be fired. But then what to do? how to decrease such incidents, because directly indirectly it was impacting the brand, and it was giving loss to the organization. So we put an SOP into place that physical frisking is already there, what else to be done, and we made changes in that SOP so that it would become more stringent, and we started linking it with the negative stars also. So the star rating program, all of you. So while we used to give the positive stars, we also started giving the negative stars, and that helped us improve upon this particular thing. So we learned and we implemented. So validated learning is very important aspect of Agile HR. We also have the principle of 80-20. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. Pareto had given this principle for economics. And basically what it says is that we must identify that what is the most important field in which we need to put in efforts. Those 20% aspects of our work, of our job, where we put in the maximum effort, would give us 80% of the outcome. So I'm sure you know about this prioritization principle, and that is how we in HR can also prioritize what we need to focus on to become more agile. Lastly, the fourth tenet of Agile HR is trust and collaboration, because you all would agree that we are dealing with human beings, we are not dealing with machines alone, and therefore we need to develop that trust and cooperation and collaboration with the people through whom we are trying to implement all the changes in our organization. So again, when we talk about teams, then we must also understand that these teams need to be fueled by a lot of collaborative efforts. So this was all about, the first aspect. If you have any questions about the basics of Agile HR or the transformation or burning platform, or about the feedback, about the process with the starting point, Agile for HR and HR for Agile, or even for about the four tenets of agility, that is responsiveness, experimentation, validation, learning, trust and collaboration, you may please ask me questions. Otherwise, we can move on to the elements of Agile HR.
I think Mr. Manjur Rai has raised his hand, ma'am.
Okay, 1 second.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, ma'am.
Ma'am, validated learning, could you please explain me?
Okay, validated learning, you want me to explain? Fine. Validated learning means that in the present times, we need to embrace science and technology for the learning purpose. For example, you are attending this session sitting in Karnataka, and I'm delivering this session sitting in Rajasthan. And this is possible through with the help of technology. Right. So learning is happening. Knowledge sharing is taking place from me to you, or from you to me also. But this sharing of knowledge, sharing of learning is possible with the help of science and technology. It is being fueled by technology. Suppose you did not know how to operate computers, or I did not know how to use a particular PowerPoint, let's say. Then in that case, such agility could not have been possible. So this is just a small example that we need to fuel the learning with science and technology. Secondly, it also means that if we are faced with a problem, let us give the simplest and the most viable solution to that problem to begin with, rather than waiting for an ideal solution, right? So we give the bare minimum input to begin with, and then we start working on it bit by bit and improving upon it with every with the passage of time. So that is what validated learning means. Another thing that is important over here is, when we are improving it, we need to take continuous feedback from the internal stakeholders, from the external stakeholders, so that we are able to make it better and better with the passage of time. So the real learning will happen, and to the level of expertise that we want, it will take place with time. Does that answer your question, Manjula?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Okay. So let us proceed further, and let me share with you further. Now, when we come to the second part of just a second. The elements of Agile HR. Just go on there. Sharing it again. Window. Yep. So when we talk about the elements of Agile HR, the first element is the most important, I feel, because, when I practice or when I implement or even when I was researching it, it's very, very important. That is changing the mindset. Now, what all is included in changing the mindset of people? There is a very famous quotation by Alvin Toffler, and he says that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read or write, but the illiterate of the 21st century are those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. It means that we are constantly required to learn new things. And when they become outdated, they become obsolete, we are also expected to unlearn that and replace it with new knowledge which is required in today's times. If you all would remember, way back in the 70s or even in the 80s, we used to have the telephone, which was we had to dial with our fingers the number, and we used to talk to people. Then came a time when there were portable telephones, the ones with the buttons, and we used to dial it through that. And then there came a time where we had the cordless telephones. Till a particular range they could be taken. So we were learning how to use all this technology. Then came a time when we had the pagers, and I used to be very excited that anytime, anywhere I can receive messages. And we used to be on 24 call in the organization because we had a pager given to us by the company. And that was another time. So we learned that new technology. Now today we don't hear anything about the pagers. I think many of you may not have seen the pagers also. Then came the time of the mobile, when it was used only to receive calls or to make calls. Then there was further changing, and we learned something new, that it could be used to click pictures or take videos also. And today mobile has everything on it. So we are in a state of continuous learning, unlearning, relearning, and this is what helps us change our mindset and get ready for newer technology and newer concepts which are there in the future also, and which are fast becoming the present also. Mr. Narayan talked about ownership, accountability, responsibility. So, this is something that we always try to have in our people in our workforce, that they should feel the ownership. They should feel this is my organization, and they should have the accountability. They should be answerable for whatever responsibility is made clear and given to them. Now that concept is also being replaced by team accountability. So first we talked about individual accountability. Now we are saying team accountability is more important. You remember, that particular anecdote of Mr. Dr. Satish Dhawan and late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, when he was the director of ISRO, Dr. Satish Dhawan. Dr. Kalam used to work under him, and they were to launch the SLV into orbit, but they failed the first time. And when they failed and the media was waiting to grill them, Dr. Satish Dhawan said, wait, I'll go and meet with the media and face the flag. And he did that. The second time, after working very hard, they again launched the rocket into space, and they were successful the second time. And the second time, Dr. Satish Dhawan said to Dr. Kalam, you go and address the media. We are successful now. So what does it show? Is it team accountability? Is it a leadership quality that, if you are to face failure, I will take it. And if we are to face, a lot of success, then the whole team receives that credit. So all these are concepts which are changing with times, and every new concept is according to the changing circumstances. But of course, one thing which I would say is the values remain the same. Right. So one more thing which we require in this changing mindset is the customer centric approach. Now, who is the customer? One, I told you, for HR, the customer is the employee. And then we have the external customer, the end user, who is, going to benefit from our product or the service, whatever our organization is offering outside. So there, the focus on that customer is also very, very important. Then, of course, adaptability, flexibility. Now, does anything come to your mind when you see this next slide, which I have put in front of you? There is this car which says, "I don't like vanilla ice cream." Is it a joke? Anybody? Or someone knows what it is all about?
Uh, yes, madam. I heard about it actually.
Okay.
This was the feedback which has come, and they felt it's weird feedback. But even then, they thought of one person thought of go and meet and understand what exactly it is. And when they
Right.
met, and customer said, when I go to the shop and I purchase different ice cream, my vehicle will start. But when I purchase this, it will not start. So he was wondering how it is possible. So he goes along with him, and when he purchased different ice cream, there was no issue. But only when vanilla he purchases, it was not starting. It's the flavor which is causing some problem technically over there, and they could identify that when they researched and found out that it was sensitive to that flavor, and that's a technical hitch they were facing. So it has helped them to come out with solution for that. And unless until they have gone dig into the root cause of that issue, they could not have come to know about this problem with their product. So the moral of the story is customer feedback should not be taken lightly, and go and validate it, and find out the actual issues, that thereby we can actually improve our product or service accordingly.
Mr. Shashikant, excellent, excellent answer, and it was so nice that you described this entire case to our fraternity here today. So wonderfully explained by you. I can clap for you, and I'm sure that
Yeah,
everyone.
let us all
Thank,
give him a big applause today.
thank you,
Great,
thank you, madam.
great.
Yeah, so just to recap what he said, or to clarify, when we talk about changing the mindset towards customer-centric approach, what example has been given through this real-life case study is that, General Motors, they received this feedback from one of the customers that I have purchased Pontiac, one of the models of the cars from you, and we have this habit that every night after dinner, we vote for which ice cream flavor all the family members want to eat, and then we take the car and we go to the supermarket, we buy that ice cream, we come back, we enjoy it. But we have observed that if we purchase vanilla ice cream, the car does not restart, and when we buy chocolate ice cream or strawberry flavor, the car restarts, which means that our car is allergic to vanilla ice cream. Now, normally, if this kind of a feedback would have been received by any other customer service department, they would have put it into the trash bin. But General Motors was a company which never took, customer feedback lightly, as Mr. Shashikant also pointed out. And therefore, they sent an engineer to investigate and find out the real reason why this customer was dissatisfied with our car and how he was relating it to vanilla ice cream. And what they found was, every day when the engineer went with the family for a few days, he stayed there. When he went and they bought strawberry flavor, the car started. When they bought chocolate, the car started. But when they bought vanilla flavored ice cream, the car did not start. He noticed it. And then when he logically investigated, he found out that vanilla, being a very popular flavor, was kept right in front of the supermarket because it sold more. Whereas the other flavors of ice cream were at the back of the supermarket in the frozen segment. And therefore, when the person went to the back of the supermarket to pick up the flavor and come back and paid the bill and came out, the car had enough time for the engine to cool down and it would start easily. But whenever he purchased the vanilla flavor, which was right in front of the supermarket, then it was very less time that he went inside and came back, and there used to be the vapor lock, which did not dissipate when this person came out, and therefore the car would not start. So they understood that this technical snag was there in the product, and by taking the customer complaint seriously, they were able to improve their product drastically. So this kind of a mindset, which embraces, I'll just go back to the slide. This kind of a mindset which talks about not just the tools and processes, but it talks about a higher thing of changing the entire way of thinking. That is a shift from traditional to the agile mindset. So although the tools and processes that we may use by entertaining the complaints or entertaining the grievances and taking a stand, carrying out the investigation, that is visible, but that may be less powerful in terms of embracing a more agile mindset as compared to actually doing something about it by reframing or using neuroplasticity, which are the other ways of coming out of the comfort zone. So the bottom line, the main takeaway from the first element of Agile HR is that we need to move from our comfort zone to the growth zone, from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset by using these various means, so that we are ultimately able to change the mind. Because there is this trap concept which says that thoughts, attitude and behavior, if we are able to change the thoughts, we will be able to impact our human attitude, and if the attitude is made positive, then the behavior would also be accordingly. Our actions would also be positive and in the right direction. So this is about the first element of Agile HR. Now we move on to the second element, that when we talk about Agile HR, it means we need to be more human centric. So I remember I was interviewing Dr. Lalit K. Bavar a few days back, who happens to be a very senior IAS officer. 42 years he was in the bureaucracy. Now he is chancellor with the university, Vivekanand Global University. And when I asked him, sir, what is your leadership style? He said, I am a human-centric leader. So I asked him to elaborate. Why does he say that he's a human-centric leader? He said something very simple. He said, see, my focus is not on optimally utilizing the resources. All the managers working under me are doing that work. My focus is on dealing with individuals as human beings and not treating them as only resources. So he said that I give due importance to all the humans, and that is the reason that we nowadays give importance to human-centric leadership. And even in Agile HR, we are talking about being more human-centric. Now, what it also means is that we need to treat every employee of ours as an individual. And therefore, looking at these various points, I'm not explaining all of them. I'm sure you're able to read them. And if you have any questions, you can ask me. I just want you to I want to take you to a practical example on the next slide. That is Project Aristotle. So what was this Project Aristotle? Google as an organization, it tried to find out that we are becoming so agile and we are at the helm of affairs and we are, in the top few companies in the world, but we still don't know what are the elements which make a perfect team. So they conducted a research internally on 180 teams which were working in Google, comprising 37,000 employees. And this research took 2 years. And the question that they had asked from these teams was, what are the elements or what are the important things which will comprise a perfect team? After 2 years of solid research, they came up with one major answer. And that answer was psychological safety of the employees ensures highest productivity. Now, what is this psychological safety? How we can ensure psychological safety? Anybody? Because all of us
Yeah,
are
we should focus more on basically empathy, belongingness,
absolutely
togetherness, team building, sharing the
great.
joy, making them part of the progress. That is partners
Absolutely.
in progress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, all these things, they help in giving psychological satisfaction and employees feel more valued, as he mentioned. So, this is most important element in a perfect team. And that's how it helps. And of course, there were some other things like which Mr. Narayan has already mentioned. After psychological safety, they talked about another aspect, that is empathy, and they talked about equal talk time, that everyone should have a voice, should be allowed to speak their minds out. So these were some other aspects that contributed to our being human centric element of you know
You can go a little
agile
fast,
HR.
ma'am.
Sorry.
You can go a little fast.
Okay, fine. The third element is co-creation. Co-creation basically focuses on the iterative approach. Now, this approach means that whenever we are trying to create something new for the first time in our organization, it should be based on, number one, the feedback which we receive internally and externally. Second, experimentation. We have to see by through hit and trial what suits our organization, and then we go in for adaptation, so that we are able to create a collaborative end result which works well for us. We have already talked about, all of us know about the DEI. Now DEI has also improved further. There has been continuous improvement. We talk about workforce diversity, we talk about equitable practices, work gender equity in payments, etc., and we talk about inclusion. But it has further improved and it has evolved. It has now become DEIB. Anybody who can tell what does B stand for? DEIB. So B stands for belongingness. So it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness, which we need to ensure from HR in our respective organizations. I want to share a video over here. If you can quickly tell me which of the elements of Agile HR you could see in this. So this video is to be related. I'm sure you have not seen it earlier. So
And there was a restaurant whose elderly waiters and waitresses all suffered from varying degrees of memory loss. It was the brainchild of Shiro Oguni, who had visited a group home for adults with dementia and thought that their isolation was kind of heartbreaking. He reckoned there really ought to be room to keep them included in society, so he created the Restaurant of Mistaken Orders, where the waiters and waitresses were all struggling with memory loss, but were nevertheless performing a job that required very good memory. And yes, 37% of the time, the orders were wrong, but 99% of the time, the guests left quite happy. Of course they did. There's a very old folk tale about a woman who would carry water home every day from a river, using 2 buckets at either end of a bamboo pole. And one of the buckets was new, and
okay, so let's go back to, I'll just stop sharing this. Now, what is the correlation of this video with the DEIB? How is it related? Anybody? We always talk about, yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Even though only at the 37% the orders were correctly delivered, the belongingness was, and the empathy towards the customer was the attracting point, so that she was successful.
Absolutely. Very nice. So, majority of the people went back quite happy, although the orders were all mixed up and they were not what the people actually wanted, which means over here that we need to embrace diversity, we need to be more inclusive, and at the same time it can lead to the our customers, that is the employees, being more happy, although the work may not be up to the mark at times. So if we can get the work also qualitatively done, it would be, in Hindi we say sone pe suhaga, what could be better? But at least that would be one of the important aspects. So going ahead with the other elements, the fourth element of Agile HR is the employee experience. Naturally, it is felt that if the customers are to be happy, the employees need to be happier first. So the employees' preferences, their concerns and aspirations, we keep on finding out about these from time to time through our feedback, which we seek, and we try to make the employees' experience more happy. And that's why we have people like, the happiness manager who takes care of the people's happiness. And if we look at it, this is the employee life cycle, starting off with the attraction and recruitment, interviewing, onboarding process, which all of us are well versed with. Now, throughout this employee life cycle, what is it that HR needs to do? We need to make the employees' experience at every stage of this life cycle more memorable and more happy, so that we are also sure of their overall well-being. My question here is, which stage in these employee life cycle stages, which one is well managed by us, but which is neglected by HR in most organizations? Since all of you are HR practitioners, I'm sure you will be able to, put your finger on a particular stage and say that, okay, this is where the employee life cycle is, the employee experience is, it has taken a back seat. Anybody? If I am to give my,
Offboarding,
sorry,
offboarding,
onboarding, okay,
offboarding.
offboarding, okay, offboarding, yes. Once we get a resignation from an employee, then we are in a hurry, okay, let him go. Right. So the entire offboarding or the exit interview, that is also something that the separation and even making use of the alumni thereafter is not something that, we take up in a very systematic manner. We don't give much time to it. So that is definitely a very true answer. Then the fifth element is the user experience. Now, user experience is bigger than the employee experience. And therefore, when we talk about user experience, we are talking about the end user here. So the customer, actually, to whom the organization is selling its product or its services, whatever may be. So that also needs to be human centered, and the HR systems need to be integrated in such a manner that the user experience is very, very simple and they do not find it difficult to use the product. So there is a concept here that I want to bring to your notice: interoperability. Interoperability means that all the different computerized products or systems, they are connected in such a way that the information may be fed once, but it is accessible through all the computerized automated systems. So such type of user experience makes it simple and easier for the customer to move ahead, and they do not need to feed the same information again and again in our organizations, various levels that they may be. A very simple example of interoperability would be that if we fill in a form at the time of, let's say, the personal history form at the time of interview as per the organization's requirement, then once all that information has been filled in by the candidate, then the same information should be available at the various computer interfaces, and the person may not need to repeat that information again and again. So that's just one example. If I talk to you about, interoperability, then it is here on this also. You can see that there is this, picture which is there on the slide, I hope in front of you. And if you scan it and if you give your feedback, then immediately it will be there on the Google. And we will be able to say that, okay, the computers are so interconnected that information is fed in one place, but it can immediately be accessed. And the data can be utilized for further decision making at other places also. Element 6 talks about one size does not fit all approach. So what does it mean? It means that we need to develop personalized plans for individuals, for departments, and there is no one plan which may be applicable to all the different units. I'll give you just one small example. My husband, he used to work for ICFI University with the head office in Hyderabad, and from Hyderabad the HR department used to release one holiday calendar. Initially, they used to give fixed 11 holidays in that calendar. But slowly they realized that no, all these 11 holidays are not relevant for the different offices set all over India. So 8 holidays were kept common, the amendment was made, and 3 were kept flexible for the regional offices to decide. So, for example, in Maharashtra, they used to take a holiday for Ganpati, or in Jaipur or Rajasthan, they used to take a holiday for Gangor. So, like this, the personalized plans, flexible plans need to be worked out in Agile HR, and that's what adaptability is all about. So, we need autonomy, we need to respond quickly for the same. The 7th element is evidence-based decision making. Evidence-based decision making, basically what it means is that we need to do a collection of data before taking decisions. So the data needs to be collected whether directly from employees or from external sources, through surveys, through feedback forms, through the turnover rates that we may be having, and that data will help us in taking better decisions. So decisions should not just be on the basis of seniority or chair or the designation that I may be holding, but it should be evidence-based, data-based decision making. Like, for example, I was just surfing through the net to find out that what are the key HR trends for 2024. And some of the key trends are that we need to use generative AI in different aspects of HR also. I was conducting again an interview of a person who is the founder of Talent 21, an organization which was started in Hyderabad, but it has offices in Bangalore, and now it has expanded to UAE, UK, and USA. The founder, he shared, Mr. Gurinder Pal, he said that, ma'am, there was a time when we used to be afraid of computers, but now we are using computers to our benefit. Similarly, today, many of the people are saying that generative AI is something that we need to worry about. But no, we are going to use AI, and we are already using AI for our benefit. So these key trends are an evidence which will help us make better informed decisions for times to come. And the last trend for Agile HR is the Agile leadership and organizational transformation. So the biggest thing in Agile leadership is leading by example. So when the leader himself is mentally prepared, the leader himself or herself is geared up for a growth mindset, then it has a ripple effect down the line and everyone follows. So that is the most important aspect, which ensures that there is a transformation in the organization, change is adapted with ease. So these are some other aspects of an agile organization, which talks about communication and customer centricism, etc. So with that, now we come to the end of the second part of our session today. And we are now proceeding towards the last part, which is the shortest. That is practically how do we apply Agile HR. So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, are we ready for Agile HR? So how do we ensure? When we ask ourselves these questions, that are we finding out what are the expectations and we are prioritizing, then we are ready. If we are making stakeholder communication better and using the right tools to do so, we are adopting new ways of thinking and working, and we are also making use of technology, then I think that we are ready for HR. Now, talking about the Agile HR steps, there are 5 major steps that need to be taken whenever we are ready to implement Agile HR in any of our functional areas. For example, the first step is defining the problem. So if the problem is that our onboarding formalities take 10 days, but we need to reduce it to 3 days, then that is how we define the problem and the target also. The second step is, so I'm giving you an example side by side. The second step is we need to decide on the resources, the roles, and the responsibilities. So the solution would be that if we need to decrease the onboarding time from 10 to 3 days, then we need to streamline the system by making use of technology and putting all the documents into automative mode. Third one is developing sprint goals. Now the question is, what is a sprint goal? This concept of a sprint comes from one of the frameworks used in Agile HR, which is Scrum. So in Scrum, when we use Scrum, it prescribes that the complex tasks are broken down into small tasks, which are called sprints. So going back to the third step, in the practical application, whatever is the bigger vision that we need to achieve from HR, or the big goals, which may seem very daunting, very complex initially, we break them down into small parts which individuals can be allotted, and that becomes their responsibility. Generally, the lifespan of a sprint is no longer than 1 month, according to Scrum. So it could be a few days, it could be a few weeks, but definitely not more than a month. Then we start with the first sprint, and we keep on checking that whether we have regular review meetings. Every day, in fact, in Scrum, we need to have a short review meeting to find out what is the progress of the sprint. Have we achieved the target for the day or not? And then finally, when the task is completed, we take a feedback and we try to see how to take it further. So these are the few steps that we take practically when we want to implement Agile HR. So Scrum I have just explained to you. And then there are some other Agile frameworks also, like Kanban is there. And a combination of Kanban and Scrum is Scrumban. So different organizations are using different types of frameworks. In my company, we use Scrum. This is just a screenshot from the Scrum which my team is using. And as you can see, the priorities are set first of all, then the tasks are categorized, whether they are major tasks or minor tasks. And these tasks are divided as responsibilities amongst the different types of people who would be handling those tasks. These tasks are further broken up into sprints. As you can see, subtask 1, subtask 2, activity 3, etc. And then the person who is given that responsibility, like here, Yash is given the responsibility, Yash and Rajvi, Saurav Singh. So their names are placed there. The timeline is given to them for the sprint, that in how many days they have to complete it. And then the status is there, and some remarks can be put by the seniors or by the person himself. So this is a small example of how Scrum helps in making HR more agile. Now, this was an example which I just showed you for this Learning from Leaders series. And these are the various leaders who have been interviewed so far. 2 of them are already here today, Mr. P. Narayana and Mr. Chandrasekhar B. I hope you must have watched their interviews in our Learning from Leaders series. If not, please scan it and watch it here. And to end it all now, in a nutshell, what does modern Agile look like at the end of the day? So when we talk about Agile HR, number one, it is human-centric, so it makes people feel awesome. Number 2, value is delivered continuously. So we've talked about giving results and better results because we keep on improving. Third, in modern Agile HR, we definitely emphasize experimentation. And as we experiment, we get better and better results. we improve continuously, and finally, we definitely keep in mind that safety is a prerequisite and we cannot ever compromise on it. With that, we come to the end of the session well in time. And with that quotation, I would like to end. This is very relevant quotation in today's times, which says that great leaders are not necessarily smarter than the rest of us, but they are more agile and mature. So, I come to the end of my presentation, and it is, we still have 7 minutes. So I would, keep the house open for questions if anyone wants to ask any questions.
It's an excellent program, what ever attended. So I request all the participants, do you have any questions? The forum is open for the Q&A.
Ma'am, one question.
Good evening, ma'am.
One at a time.
Ma'am, my name is Manju Kumari.
Yes, Manju ma'am.
Ma'am, could you hear me?
Yeah, Manju ma'am, I can hear you. Please ask.
Ma'am, you have said about Scrum. That is means task broken into small tasks. Ma'am, you have said two terms, that is Scrum and one is Kanban.
Yeah. So,
Ma'am,
Kanban.
these are different terms or same terms?
Chandrasekhar sir, could you understand the last part of the question?
No, there is a disturbance. I request rest of the other participants on mute, please.
Manju, I think you are entered in. Okay. Shashikant, go ahead.
Ma'am, I have one question. The agility is about how swiftly and how quickly you change to the new thing. But having said that, the change comes with resistance and the difficulties and something which is new, which is not priorly experienced. So, how to overcome that? What are your the inputs for someone who want to be agile, who comes with this change difficulties in overcoming the changes?
Right. So, Shashikant sir, the first important thing is that we are well aware that definitely there is going to be resistance, right? Because people don't like change, and if we go up according to psychology, then the first reaction of majority of the people is denial. So as you asked that how to overcome this resistance, one, we need to change the thinking of people, which could be done in different ways. For example, one of the ways of changing mindset is telling them the importance of the new idea, how it can be beneficial for them, how it can be beneficial for the bigger picture, for the organization, for the business in general, and revisiting the values, the principles which are behind this change which we are trying to implement. I will give you a live example and explain this to you. When I was heading HR, we used to follow a very archaic system of performance appraisal that was only superior rating. And it was like the tick box thing that, in a hurry, the superior would just tick yes, good, bad, and the appraisal used to be done. But when I joined, I wanted to bring about a change. And so slowly, so the second thing I'm saying is we try to introduce change bit by bit rather than giving a shock to the people. So what I did as a first step, I introduced self-evaluation. So I said, do your self-appraisal. And we designed the form for that and we circulated. Now, naturally, when the people had to do self-appraisal, they had to really think a lot and write down what all have I done, what are the pluses, etc. So it really made them think, introspect. And so then later on, we implemented the balanced scorecard. which was very complex. So again, there was resistance, but then we did it in a piecemeal approach. First, we took all the HODs into confidence. We gave a presentation to them. We made them acclimatize with the concept. Once they became familiar with the concept, then the resistance started going down a bit. But one thing is for sure, that without their cooperation, without collaborating with the various HODs, I could not have implemented such a major change in the, as balanced scorecard. So it is a piecemeal approach, I would say, practically, and spreading the knowledge, sharing with them the benefits, that helps to a great extent if people are able to see their benefit also.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was quite insightful.
Right. Manju ma'am, you want to type your question if you want me to read it and answer it?
Ma'am, could you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Ma'am, you have said two terms, that is Scrum and Kanban.
Absolutely.
Ma'am, are these different terms or the same?
No, they're different. In fact, there are many frameworks of implementing, Agile HR. I know about 6-7 of them. One is Scrum. Second one is Kanban. Third one is Lean. So we talk about, Lean, this thing. Then there is XP, that is the Extreme Program. That is another framework which is used for Agile HR. Then feature-driven development is there, Crystal is there, DSDM is there, so which is, I think, dynamic system. So there are many different frameworks. Now you'll have to see in your particular organization which one fits, because I've told earlier, there is no one size which fits all. So for my organization, like Scrum works well. So we work on Scrum, and there is total transparency. Everyone can see who is working on what, how much of progress has been made, etc. So that suits us. So there are many different frameworks for implementing Agile HR. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right.
Any other participants having any questions? Kindly post. Ma'am, you have touched one point on the point on the agile leadership and the organizational transformations. When we have the agile leadership for the change management, so the organizational transformation where you have a realistic, any such kind of a case study, so that it happened, so that in a systematic manner, so that it would be helpful for our NIPM and KC leaders. If you find somewhere across, you can share with us.
The organizational transformation for this. Sir, basically, there was this organization, Amity University, where I was the director. I was heading the management wing, and originally we used to work in a very traditional manner like any other university. But when the second generation, which studied from Stanford, like my immediate boss and his boss, Azim, C6 we used to call him, so Azim Chauhan. So we saw that he came with a lot of different mindset. He came with a lot of concepts from abroad, and he actually fired up the whole campus, in the sense that he used to have meetings once in a month, and he used to share his ideas, and he used to provoke our thoughts and say, okay, why don't you do this? Why don't you think about it? So this was a live example where, for the first time in my life, besides teaching, besides giving admissions or conducting courses for BBA, MBA, we also started doing consultancy, corporate training, etc. And this generated revenues, which naturally the owners, they wanted. At the end of the day, they were very happy with that. But it was a top-down approach. The idea came from them. We understood, we worked on it, we implemented it, we were very much inspired, and therefore such type of organizational leadership, the top-down approach, it brought about a transformation. And rather than just being an academic institution, we also started doing other related revenue generation things related to knowledge sharing. So there I'd seen a big change, and today we know the way Amity has expanded, not just in India but even abroad as a university. That's all I would say, because of the organizational transformation, because of the agile leadership on the top.
Certainly, ma'am. Thanks for sharing. So, Narayan sir, we coming to the conclusion part. You'd like to conclude?
Yeah, you can conclude, Chandrasekhar, or you can allow, if Nagaraj Dundi is there, Nagaraj Dundi, otherwise Rashekar, Bellad can conclude. Okay.
Veena ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am. It's a really it's a great program. Okay, wonderful and the best. I think normally we need to speak about best program. What I think we heard as rightly Chandrasekhar sir and Narayan sir and other colleagues have spoke. Really is a very good learning for everyone. These are the new concepts. I think what you roped in today for HR fraternity. We need to start looking into these angles and start imbibing it and start practicing it also. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. And definitely we'll be in touch with you with the support of Narayan sir for similar programs in the coming days, I think, for our NIPM and for the benefit of our HR fraternity of North Karnataka. On behalf of entire team and the executive committee members and chairman, we thank you so much for taking your precious time and briefing us on this latest like change. I think what is happening as a HR fraternity, we need to adapt all these changes. I think in case we want to grow in the organization. Thank you so much for your wonderful program today. Thank you.
Thank
I
you
also
so
thank Chairman Sir Chandrasekhar and all my HR colleagues, I think, who are present for this today's program. And we request a similar support from everyone in the coming days, not only in these programs and other activities, what NIPM NKC will be sharing with you all. Thank you once again to everyone. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.